Bashar Assad is winning. And that's because the United States is not leading or assisting.
U.S. Senator John McCain after a secret trip into Syria to meet opposition rebels. New reports of chemical weapons being used in the fighting in Syria. And tonight, EU governments reach an agreement to extend sanctions against Syria for another year, but they cannot agree to amend an arms embargo to help the Syrian opposition. Fears that the opposition is made up of Islamist fundamentalists. Is it time to ship arms to the rebels? Is there chemical weapons? Are there chemical weapons being used? Joining me now from Toronto, Janice Stein, the director of the Munk School of Global Affairs, and Mohamed El Rashidy, vice president of the Canadian Arab Federation. There are so many strands to this story. First of all, what impact does the John McCain crossing into Syria have on this debate, Mohamed?
Obviously, having John McCain there is a pretty big deal because it shows that there's a significant weight within the U.S. machine, the war machine, if you will, behind going in and getting involved. So that does play a role in sort of countering this success of late that Assad and his supporters have had in Syria. So it is a big deal.
Janice, does that put pressure on Obama?
Sure it does. Just because McCain is such a well-recognized and articulate spokesperson. But I actually don't think, Evan, that McCain speaks for many in the Senate or in Congress right now. There is real reservation, real fatigue, and no clear road ahead. So yes, it increases the pressure on Obama, but no, it does not push him past the red line.
There are so many debates about how to respond. Meantime, on the weekend, Hezbollah vowed to help push Assad's victory. On Sunday, rockets from Syria landed in Lebanon. Is the crisis with Hezbollah's involvement, what is that doing to this crisis, Mohamed?
It's doing a lot, Evan. It's a very important point that you raise. If you remember, we were doing the end of the year wrap up in December. We were discussing Syria, and a lot of people were sort of counting the weeks or days when Assad would be gone. And my position was clear that he would stay through 2013. And now that Hezbollah has really put all hands on deck and has really thrown the gauntlet here through Nasrallah, saying we're not going to lose this, we're going all out. There's now a significant number of fighters with full proof and evidence being involved on the Assad side of the fighting. It really pushes things in another direction, simply because Hezbollah is a very well organized and disciplined force, as we've seen in the 2006 fighting with Israel. So they definitely have the discipline and the know-how of this urban warfare, which the rebels really lack. They don't have the organization, they don't have the support militarily. So I think having Hezbollah come in with full weight like this is going to tilt the balance, and it has tilted the balance. And now really the ball is in the court of the rebels and all their supporters, which includes the U.S.
Janice, weigh in on that. By the way, we talk about Hezbollah. Of course, they're supported by Iran, so that adds that other dimension. There's the dimension of chemical weapons and the response. Just give us your sense now with that involved, and Israel we haven't even mentioned. I mean, how do you craft a response given the fact that there's so many balls in the air?
You know, this is, I think, a game changer. It is certainly an escalation. It is a big step up the ladder. And the one thing to watch for right now, Evan, is what is going to happen in Lebanon. You know, Hezbollah's active involvement on behalf of Assad is inciting many Sunni Muslims in Lebanon for the first time who are forming alliances with rebels. Stuff is moving back and forth across the border. And I think it's likely that we will see an explosion. We've already seen fighting in Tripoli. It can easily spill over into Beirut. This is the closest we've actually come to the war in Syria becoming regionalized by moving into Lebanon.
I got less than a minute. I'll start with you, Janice, then Mohamed. If there are confirmed reports of chemical weapons on the Assad side being used, Obama said that's a game changer. What has to happen next, Janice, then Mohamed?
Well, you know, Obama walked back from that, frankly, Evan, because he's now saying he needs incontrovertible proof. It has to be on a large scale. because we've had these reports before, and certainly analysis of soil and some of the patients that have been admitted to hospitals.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong evidence they have been used, and nothing happened. So we would have to see them used on a much larger scale with clear fingerprints to the Assad regime before the United States will do anything about this.
I got 30 seconds, Mohammed.
Yeah, but it weakens Obama. He obviously was not expecting chemical weapons to be used when he made that statement because he did not want to get involved. But we've seen evidence that they have been used. Like Janice said, not enough, not a large enough scale, but at the end of the day, they are being used, and the U.S. interests are diminishing as Assad keeps progressing and cutting off the rebel supply lines. So I think the U.S. is in a very tough spot here, and so are their allies because of the Hezbollah intervention. And like Janice said, with Lebanon now being a powder keg, I think we could see this escalate in the worst possible way. It's already the worst type of nightmare for the people in Syria, and this may engulf the neighboring countries like Lebanon.
All right, we'll have you guys on as we watch. Watch what happens on that Syrian-Israeli-Lebanese border, because that could be where, if this thing does start escalating seriously, that's where we'll see a lot of it. I appreciate your time, Mohamed El Rashidy and Janice Stein. Always good to have you both. That is an escalating situation. Thanks so much.
You're so welcome.
Got to take a short break on Power Politics. The ballot box results.